My name's Jeffrey Lynn. I have a story to tell you. My story is about fabrics and folks like you and that engrossed young couple over there. There was a time not too long ago when if something like this happened, well, how would you feel? Indignant? Sick all over? After all, a ruined suit or a cleaning and pressing job is expensive. But my, how times have changed. Annoyed? Certainly. But only the mild annoyance that comes from knowing it'll take less than an hour to wash and dry them before putting them right back on. Just think, less than an hour. That's a miracle. A miracle that could only happen in the wonderful world of wash and wear. Yes, something besides the time has changed. Something quite important. That's the real story. One that begins over here. In the bottom of the laundry basket of the average home of the average family. For about 6,000 years now, give or take a couple, we've faced the problem of covering our bodies with clothing. First, the fig leaves. Since then, we've relied pretty much on 4 sturdy natural fibers, animal and vegetable. Like, for instance, wool, silk, cotton, and linen. Yes, since the Stone Age, man has spent a lot of time seeking better materials for his clothes. Plus, a good deal more towards finding easier and different, always newer, always better ways to get his clothing clean. Right up to today's automatics. But we all know that the fabrics we used couldn't always be cleaned by washing. Wool, for example. Raw, unprocessed wool, just sheared. Wool's always been and is a leading warmth fiber, for outerwear especially. Has excellent wrinkle resistance, good draping qualities, is easily dyed, a lot of design appeal. Yet no matter how we bettered our laundry methods through the years, this little woolly lamb just won't cotton to washing. True, some wool items can be hand washed, but even so, that lad's growing as fast as crabgrass, so that sweater shrank. We all know wool shrinks like no other natural fiber. So with wool clothing, it's either costly, time-consuming dry cleaning, or we clean and press it as best we can with spot remover and an iron. Used to be some guys even pressed their pants under the mattress. The newspapers prevented the springs from leaving impressions. So while better washing methods solved some of our washing problems, we knew further progress might be found in something other than natural fibers for our clothes. Textile manufacturers, clothing makers, fabric designers all asked, what can we find that's an improvement over wool or blends with it? What looks, feels, drapes, fashions better than wool? And for that matter, cotton, linen, and silk. We Americans go for that kind of challenge. We said, find something with all the good things of natural fibers and none of the drawbacks. That's when the test tube boys knuckled down to work. So began years of research, of tireless work of many men, of spending, well, let's not get into how much money, to create the modern man-made fibers for fabrics that we...
Rulers lived in the Golistan, or Rose Garden Palace. In its mirror throne room is one of the world's most fabulous objects, the Peacock Throne. This golden seat of state was designed so that its occupant sat cross-legged with his back against a bolster crusted with pearls and rubies in gold settings. Built for the great Mughal of India, it was captured by Nadir Shah and brought to Persia 200 years ago. Above is the jeweled peacock from which the throne gets its name. Tehran is the capital of Iran, located in the north with the Elburz Mountains in the background. Tehran is a modern city with roots in the past. The great Muslim religious college of Sepah Salar is one of the intellectual centers of the Islamic world. These young men are studying to become mullahs, religious leaders. Their tranquil cloisters contrast with the busy life of the city. A woman wearing the enveloping chador is a reminder that even here in this modern city are strong links with Eastern tradition. New buildings and modern apartments are among the visible signs of progress in Tehran. At their national university, young Iranians, with a growing spirit of national pride, are becoming the doctors, teachers, engineers, and leaders of the future. Isfahan is the art and craft center of Iran, as it was in the days of Shah Abbas, when her people boasted, "Isfahan is half the world." Much of the imperial splendor survives, and in the bazaar, the ancient crafts, like coppersmithing, continue little changed. Modern machinery has come to Iran, but it still is far less difficult to hire a skilled hand craftsman by the day than to find capital to buy an imported machine to do his job. The hands of Isfahan craftsmen turn with special skill to the creation of fine articles of silver. Machinery will never be able to replace artist craftsmen like these silversmiths. Their skill is not easily acquired. For 50 years, these hands have guided tiny chisels, none over a tenth the size of a finger. With never-ending taps of his hammer, one of the world's great silver masters, Mohammad Zufan, creates things of lasting loveliness. This small case is ornamented with figures of legendary heroes, hunting lions in a scene from a Persia of long ago. The shop windows of Isfahan display other traditional arts. Here are miniature paintings. Themes used today are little changed from those of the time of the great Shah Abbas, and the technique is also little changed. Men sit all day, seeming scarcely to move a muscle. His brush, 3 camel hairs, and this is some of the work he does. The best-known product of Isfahan hands is, of course, the Persian rug. An average rug is made up of at least 1 million tiny knots, every one of which must be tied by hand. The knots make the woolen tufts, or pile of the rug. The warp, or foundation of the rug, consists of cotton threads wound between large wooden rollers. Rug industry wages are low. One of these skilled weavers earns less in a week than an average American laborer receives for 2 hours' work. After a few rows of knots have been tied, they are pounded tightly together with this comb-faced hammer. Children's tiny hands tie the smallest knots of the most delicate designs, although employment of children in rug factories is discouraged by new labor laws. As modern industry like this textile mill come to Isfahan, mill owners and workers alike face the problems of sudden adjustment to the machine age. Shiraz is the capital of the province of Fars, from which Persia took its name. The monumental city gates and the princely palace of the Koshkai suggest the beauty of Shiraz, whose history is full of the names of astronomers, philosophers, and poets. The climate is agreeable here. Oranges grow near reflecting pools in which Muslim poets saw the tranquility they sought in their faith. With this monument, Shiraz honors its most beloved son, the poet Saadi. 700 years ago, he wrote poetry of such beauty that it still is the basis of the living Persian language of today. The people of Shiraz are among the most progressive in Iran.
Local drugstore as Western Union's representation. To millions of sports fans, Western Union is the answer to what's the score? Wherever the bat cracks against the ball, wherever gridiron greats collide, wherever big-time punches fly, Western Union is as much a part of the sports scene as the umpires and referees. Whatever the news, wherever it happens, Western Union speeds the story to its national press centers, serving the world's top newspapers with lightning-fast reports geared to press deadlines. Wherever disaster strikes, Western Union is on the job to restore contact, bring word to and from the stricken, and marshal relief for the hungry and homeless. In scores of crises in the nation's history, the copper wires of Western Union have been worth their weight in gold. Of all the many places where Western Union serves the American people, it is perhaps here, where representatives speak and act for 150 million citizens, that Western Union serves the greatest number. In the Senate press room, correspondents compile the daily hard copy record of significant speeches, ballots, legislation, and committee action. Almost as soon as it happens, through on-the-spot facilities, Western Union delivers this record to front pages in the free world. But there are more than outgoing stories. Western Union in Washington is a funnel into which Americans pour their messages of support or protest to their leaders. The opinions of grassroots voters who rightly believe that the elected man is a public servant. When great issues are at stake, the people speak their minds in a flood of telegrams that may total tens of thousands in one 24-hour period. Through its high-speed centers and other facilities, Western Union stands ready to carry far greater traffic than the nation demands. One section of its system operates by microwave beam transmission. From towers like this in Washington, more than 2,000 telegrams can be sent and received simultaneously on a single radio beam, traveling with the speed of light through other towers strategically located along the route. How else does this Western Union of today serve? Specially designed private wire systems when there is a need for communications in volume, such as the private bank wire, interconnecting 188 banks in 54 cities, providing direct, immediate, and confidential communications for all banks on the network. Here is an outstanding example of modern telegraphy serving the nation's great industries. Yes, Western Union does more than serve the individual 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. At all times, this battery of teleprinters presents a permanent record of the origin and destination of every message exchanged over the private wire system. Contracts, confirmations, instructions, purchase orders, financial transactions. Not one detail has been left hanging in the air, filed in memory, or left to chance. It's all in black and white. In the Pentagon, brain center of America's military might, the permanent aspect of telegraphic communication conforms to the traditional demand of the military for realistic records. The Army and Air Force use private telegraph systems to coordinate their vast organizations operated by specially trained service personnel. Theirs are among the greatest communication centers ever designed and serviced by Western Union.
Hey, they're all here, they're all late. What do you read? They're all here, hey! Hey, what do you read?
Hi, Joe.
Hi.
Yeah, that's more like it, Joe. It's got news.
Yeah. I can't figure out why that last edition was blank. A break, I guess.
It's all there now, all right. The things that happen to people and the things that people made to happen. There's just one blank space in this edition of the paper, but that will be filled in the next edition, because the story is happening right now. A reporter is taking notes in the research center of Western Union, and what he is looking at will make the story that will fill the last empty space in the newspaper. The story is a familiar one to Western Union, a new one to the reporter. It's the story of an endless search for improved facilities to
into any shape we want. This little plastic swizzle stick will show you what I mean. Let's call it a Dacron fiber. See how it can be molded with heat? Now watch. Cool this Dacron fiber quickly, and we give it a permanent shape. It will hold this shape unless we heat it again above the softening point. Did I say we had problems in washing natural fibers? Believe me, new methods and techniques had to be developed in washing and drying modern fibers and delicate fabrics. Consider, on wash day, people use, by tradition, hot water for their laundry. And by tradition, they like to agitate the dirt out so they know it's been agitated. And when they use an automatic dryer, they know that the hotter the temperature, the faster the job gets done. All this is enough to scare a modern fiber half to death. No wonder washing directions on clothing tags usually read, hand wash in warm water and hang up to drip dry. Yes, from a styling and comfort standpoint, we reached new highs with modern fabrics, but our washing methods, modern as they were, simply could not meet the particular washing needs of modern fibers. Almost seems like we were back to beating our clothes again with a paddle on the riverbank. Well, almost. Plus, we used to hang them up to drip dry, a somewhat messy chore even in our bathrooms. It wasn't long before some laundry manufacturers recognized that modern fabrics needed different care. And soon, new washers made their appearance. Some new automatics featured gentle cycles or offered a choice of shorter wash times. Others provided a warm wash water temperature. A few had a cold rinse. All tried to meet the new washing requirements of modern fabrics. Requirements which were to become even more exacting because the laboratories of science and the apparel industry suddenly catapulted us into the wonderful world of wash and wear. Modern fibers, alone or in blends with natural fibers, brought new innovations in cool, crisp, comfortable clothes. Everything from shorts and casual slacks to colorful sport coats. From sun-happy sports shirts to fine weave dress shirts. The sheerest of slips and blouses. Bathrobes to rainwear to beach wear. At first, summer wear, then all-weather wear. Suits and topcoats for men. Fashionable sweaters, skirts, and synthetic furs for women. Even, believe it or not, tuxedos. Modern fibers in fashionable weave fabrics soon accounted for 1 out of every 3 sales. Based on the increasing usage of wash and wear, manufacturers are expecting to more than double today's output within the next 2 or 3 years. For example, they'll turn out 3,440,000 suits, 5,500,000 jackets, 13,900,000 slacks, and 21,900,000 business shirts. A success story, climaxed only by modern apparel clearly associated with the word automatic. The automatic suit. I'm wearing one now. A suit designed to be repeatedly worn, then washed in an automatic washer, and tumble dried in an automatic dryer, then worn immediately. With the creases and pleats still in place, but with the wrinkles gone. Small wonder it's called a limited care item. But to give it even limited care requires certain basic musts. Knowing them will help you in buying wash and wear. Generally speaking, these are warm wash water, short washing cycle, gentle agitation, water cool down, gentle spinning, cold rinse, right drying temperature, and drying cool-off. But speaking specifically, laundry research specialists asked, what is warm? Here's a shirt washed in water that wasn't hot enough. The wear wrinkles, especially around the belt line, just couldn't return to their original position and disappear. We call this losing their plastic memory. This skirt was washed in water.
All the gardens are covered by rose leaves. All the mountains have put on their holy dress. 1,000 years ago, the poet Ferdowsi sang the praises of spring among Persia's mountains. Today, the people of Iran still look to their mountains for water, precious water for the high, arid plain on which most of the people live. But too often, rivers flowing down from the snows disappear in the great central deserts of Iran. East and west lie other Muslim lands: Turkey, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Afghanistan. North, the Soviet Union lies beyond the Alborz Mountains. Iran knew greatness in the days when it was known as Persia. From this vast throne room, heart of his renowned capital, Persepolis, King Darius ruled over the first great empire in history. The Hall of 100 Columns, the haram for the many royal wives, and a wonderful sculptured stone stairway were among the marvels here. Focus of the sculptures was the life-size carving of Darius himself, seated on his throne, receiving tribute from the peoples he ruled. From Europe, Africa, and Asia came men bearing gifts. In the procession were Syrians, bringing golden bowls, bracelets shaped like horseshoes, and small horses from what is today Arabia. This was sort of tax day 25 centuries ago. There were Medes, there were Scythians from what is today southwest Russia. There were sheep from what is today Turkey. There were vessels with exotic shapes, full of precious liquids. There were humpbacked cattle from what is today India, all these part of the Persian Empire in its days of greatest glory. There was a chariot, like those of the pharaohs. Even Egypt was ruled by this Persian king, and there was a Bactrian camel from what is today Afghanistan. The tax collectors were the men of his mighty army, and on these golden tablets Darius inscribed, "I am Darius, King of Kings. The great god Ahura Mazda has given me the rulership of all races. This is my kingdom." Here in gold was outlined the empire which was handed to Xerxes, his son. Xerxes, at the head of vast armies, extended Persian rule to the limits of the known world. The Persian armies met defeat in Greece at the Battle of Marathon. Under Alexander, Greeks pursued the Persians back to Persepolis. Through this gateway, Alexander the Great strode in triumph. Conquerors of a different kind came 1,000 years later, when in from the Arabian Peninsula swept men with flaming sword and a fiery new faith. As this new faith of Islam grew and mellowed, the followers of the Prophet Muhammad built great churches called mosques. The Masjid-i-Shah, the royal blue mosque of Isfahan, was completed in the 17th century by Shah Abbas. He ruled during Persia's second golden age. Polo was developed in Isfahan and played in the great square, while the Shah watched from this porch over the palace gateway. From his palace, Shah Abbas ruled a reborn, expanding Persia. He built roads, irrigation systems, and great bridges like this one, but even his empire finally crumbled. Centuries later, in 1925, Reza Shah rose to power and a new era began, marked by a turn from old customs toward Western ways of thought. Under Reza Shah's son, needed land reforms are changing old patterns and bringing hope to the people. The young Shah's palace is typical of the architecture of modern Tehran. Former rulers lived in the Golistan, or Rose Garden Palace. In its mirror throne room is one of the world's most fabulous objects, the Peacock Throne. This golden seat of state was designed so that its occupant sat cross-legged with his back against a bolster crusted with pearls and rubies in gold settings. Built for the great Mughal of India, it was captured by Nadir Shah and brought to Persia 200 years ago. Above is the jeweled peacock from which the throne gets its name. Tehran is the capital of Iran, located in the north with the Alborz Mountains in the background. Tehran is a modern city with roots in the past. The great Muslim religious college of Sepah Salar is one of the intellectual centers of...
Telecasting studios will be a combination of Broadway and Hollywood, and you'll get the best of both for the price of your television set and a few cents worth of electricity. And outside the studios, mobile televising units, portable stations on wheels, are now experimenting with remote pickups, getting primed to bring you on-the-spot news and history in the making. When television networks are formed, you will have a direct wire to every place a television camera can be set up. A world of sports at your fingertips.
They're off. That's interpreter number 2 right in front. And the field races past the stand with interpreter on top, low man in second place moving up on the outside.
Mayor LaGuardia pitches the first ball. Red Ruffing is taking his time, and it's a hit.
There's a capacity crowd here at Madison Square Garden tonight to witness the semifinals of the Golden Glove.
Telecasting is done on a limited schedule now, but tomorrow you will have a permanent ringside seat everywhere from Madison Square Garden to the House of Congress. You'll see transmitted by television, newsreels, and super Hollywood productions. Plays and musicals, command performances in your own living room. These men at Halloran General Hospital, where there are 100 sets, can tell you television is here to stay. Even now, without the technical improvements that will come after the war, the television picture has the quality of a good home movie. The pre-war models in use today have a small screen, but here's a practical working model with a 16 by 22-inch screen that goes into production just about the time you're being measured for civvies.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company. WNBT, New York.
Well, that gives you a pretty general idea of what's happening. Now let's see how television works. You're going to find a new type of aerial against the skyline of America when you return. It will be up high because television waves, like light rays, don't bend and are stopped by the horizon. So the higher the aerial, the farther the waves travel. But first, what is a television wave? As you know, all objects reflect light, some more, some less, depending on their color. The white jacket of these fencers is reflecting more light than their dark trousers. The television camera lens, like an ordinary camera, picks up these differences in light and shadow. Only instead of film behind the lens, we have the iconoscope, familiarly known as Ike. The camera plate of the iconoscope is made up of millions of sensitive electric eyes. These eyes pick up electric impulses from the object being televised and form a picture which is then transmitted as separate electric impulses from the camera plate to the receiver screen. There, the impulses are converted back to pinpoints of light and shadow to reform the picture on the screen. Here, the process is slowed down for you. Actually, the impulses travel from the camera to the receiving set at the rate of 4 million impulses a second, forming the picture in motion. Fantastic. But our children will grow up with this miracle enriching their lives and giving them a new understanding of the whole world.
Gosh.
By harnessing electrons and vacuum tubes, our research scientists, backed by American industry and manufacturing skill, have developed this new means of communication to the point where it promises to become a post-war billion-dollar industry which can serve our nation and the world in new and wonderful ways. Let's listen to a man who knows. He is one of the great leaders in the world of electronics, Brigadier General